Hey, welcome to the Small Business Made Simple podcast, brought to you by socialmediaandmarketing.com.au. Being in business is never easy, but it can be simple, or at least simpler. Join me, your host Jen Donovan, every week where we focus on marketing, social media, and working towards simplifying your business. You with me? Let's do this.
Dream it big, 'cause someone out there listening. Everyone's got a voice to give, and it's time I heard you whistling, 'cause there's no point at all, in dreaming small,
Why, hey there, my amazing listener. Welcome to episode 162 of the Small Business Made Simple podcast. Thank you, as always, for lending me your ears today. I know you have lots of choices out there, and I really do sincerely appreciate you making my podcast one of them. If you're a first-time listener, then super welcome to you. This is a great episode to be tuning into. Or, of course, welcome back. If you are a long-term listener, I am really pleased to have you here. I'm, of course, the host, Jen Donovan, and it's my job pretty much to make your business life simpler through this podcast and my social media and workshops and all sorts of things. But business isn't always easy, but it definitely should be simple or a little bit simpler, which is my promise to you on the so-called Small Business Made Simple podcast. This episode is actually sponsored by my other business, which is called Spend With Us, so Australia's leading marketplace for rural and regional small businesses. You can find it at all the W's, spendwithus.com.au. And if you're looking for somewhere to support small rural businesses this Christmas, go and jump on the marketplace and support away. I know that all my members over there would be ecstatic. Even if you aren't able to purchase from there, please share it. Please let other people know about Spend With Us. I, of course, would be eternally grateful, as well as, of course, all my members. But today, I've got a really great episode for you. We are talking about picking a word to describe what 2022 is going to look like. Now, the last 2 years have probably looked very different to how you might have planned it at the end of 2019 for what 2020 would have looked like. And then at the end of 2020, I think I was among the people who thought, new year, new thing, like this will be a different year. But of course, as we found out, it was very similar to 2020. So 2022 is going to be a different year. In fact, it's going to be your year. And it's also going to be my year. So don't switch off from this episode. This is a great little exercise we're going to do together. Even though I'm just in your ears, I do have a worksheet for you to go through. And you can find the worksheet at all the W's, socialmedia.and marketing.com.au/162. But anyway, we are going to choose a word of the year. And in case you're thinking I'm going to get all wishy-washy on you, I'm not. But we are going to choose a word to describe the coming year in 2022. So I just want to tell you a little bit of a story to go with this. So quite some time ago, I was listening to a podcast, and it was probably so long ago, I can't really remember whose podcast it was, but I think it could have been Amy Porterfield's podcast, because I am an Amy fan, but of course I'm not quite sure. Anyway, she was talking about choosing a word to describe your year. You know, writing down all your goals and your hopes and your dreams and your BHAGs, which of course are, big, hairy, audacious goals, and then choosing one word to describe all of those hopes and dreams. And I kind of thought at the time, one word, are you kidding me? How am I supposed to find one word to describe all that? But of course, it turned out to be a bit of an earworm. You know, those things that just enter your head and you just can't get them out of your head. So it was at a time, it was quite a few years ago, as I mentioned, but it was at a time that I was going through technically, I guess, a breakup, but a business breakup. A partnership that I'd had was ending, and I had to rethink all my decisions, all my business decisions. Basically, I was like, what am I going to do next year? How am I going to turn what I'd been doing in the partnership into a business? Because I'd been coaching and teaching social media already for about 2 years inside that partnership, but I'd never really branded me. I'd never really been on my own. So this was totally new to me, and it was all about building the Jen Donovan brand. So this podcast, this idea that one word could describe a year was pretty unknown to me and a bit foreign, and maybe you're thinking that about now with you. So I was trying to think, what was 2019 going to hold for me? Sorry, but basically I was starting a new chapter, and this was a solo Jen time, and I had to rebuild everything from the ground up. Not only that, but I had to rebuild everything inside my head as well. So I asked myself these questions. What did 2019 look like for me? What impact did I want to have on the world in 2019? And I asked these questions over and over and over again. Again, they became a bit of an earworm for me. And then I discovered within those questions laid the absolute answer that I wanted. And the answer, of course, was impact. Impact was my word. Impact was the reason why I started this podcast nearly 3 years ago now. Impact was the reason why I took on private coaching clients and did masterminds. And impact was the reason why this year alone I've done about 47 workshops or webinars, because I want impact. Cheatingly, I've probably used impact for the last few years, because in 2020 I wanted to have impact. In 2021 I wanted to have impact, but I wasn't quite able to have the impact that I wanted because of the C word, of course. And way back when I was thinking about this concept to start with, I was going to do this thing. I was going to build this Jen Donovan brand, and you know, by heck, I wanted it to have an impact. I wanted to have an impact on you. I wanted to have an impact on my other listeners and my clients and my people that came along to my workshops. And of course, I wanted to have an impact on me and my family as well. So what's your word? In 2022, what would your word be? How do you want to show up in 2022? So you might be thinking, Jen, why choose a word? Well, I'm going to give you a few reasons why I think this could be really useful for you. I think it helps you focus. If you have one word, you can focus all your goals towards that word. It allows for flexibility. Do you ever feel like your goals change over time, or that you fail to meet a goal and then you feel like it just all goes out the window for you? Well, obviously that's happened to me before. I'm sure it's happened to everyone. But by having a single word, you can kind of adjust your goals over time. So as long as your goals are in line with your focus word, you can choose, to begin again. So as long as my goals can shift, but as long as they were still having an impact, I thought I'm still on track for what I want. Of course, it's easy to remember if you're like me and you can type it up and print it out and put it in front of you, or put it in your diary or wherever it is that you look every day. You know, your word is easy to remember because it's only just one word, rather than trying to remember all the goals you're trying to do, although they should also be printed out and put in front of you, just to say. It can really unify your goals. So generally our goals could be quite broad and cover a lot of different elements of our life, making it hard sometimes to put a criteria against the goals for making business or strategic decisions. But by analysing your goals and then choosing a word that resonates across all of them, I find it makes it easier for me to define my approach for the year and guide any decisions that I make. If I do X, am I going to have an impact? Yeah, I am. Okay, that's a good goal. No? Okay, I need to rethink that goal. And of course, it makes it easier to review your achievements. Ask yourself, did this, insert activity, reflect, insert your defining word here? So, did doing 47 workshops or webinars this year have an impact on me, on my audience, on my listeners, on the people that came, on my family, my friends? Like, yes, it did. It did have an impact. So that was a good goal. I reached that goal. So you can see how it can really help you work through your achievements with your goals and whether or not you are still on path to where you want to be at this time next year, which is a really foreign concept to me, to think that, we are planning for 2022 and we are thinking about what the year is going to look like. So I get it. It's been so topsy-turvy. It's like, really, what is the year going to look like? But we need to start somewhere, and we need to start with our goals and what you actually want out of next year. Of course, you need some flexibility, which of course what 2020 and 2021 have certainly taught us to be, and that is flexible. So are you ready? It's time. It's time to have a look at choosing your own word. You might not know it straight away, and you might be like just thinking, I just need a little bit of time to work through this, and that's fine. Make it become an earworm that it's something that you are just thinking about constantly over the next few weeks. But maybe it might come to you straight away. Maybe you might need some time to develop those ideas, and that's totally fine. The beauty of the exercise is that there's no pressure to know straight away. In fact, I really do give you permission to take as much time as you need to work out what your word of the year is going to be. So in the show notes, which you can find at all the W's, socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/162, you'll find a worksheet. And there's a few steps in this worksheet that will help you work through this coming up with a word. There's 3 steps involved in the worksheet that you can go through. So step 1 is do a brainstorm of words that come to your brain about the year to come. So do a brainstorm of all the words that come to your mind when you think of 2022. And some of them may not be positive words, and that's okay. It's called a brainstorm for a reason. Just write them all down. On the worksheet, of course, I've got examples just to sort of help your brain get set and to be thinking about it that way. Step 2, then, if you want to, list some thoughts under the different areas of the worksheet, such as what are your personal goals? What are you most fearful of when it comes to looking at 2022? What can't you wait for in 2022? How are you going to give back to your clients, your customers, your community, yourself, your family, your friends, whoever? How are you going to give back? What's your big project for 2022? What are your goals around your business or your career? Both financially, but growth, but also could be around brand awareness, like all those different strategies. What are the goals? And what's new that you'd really like to learn in 2022? Step 3, of course, is finally choosing that one word that unifies your thoughts across your goals and write it down the bottom of the page. You might find your chosen word relates to your strongest goal, and not all of them. And that's okay. But the broader it is, the word that you choose, the more useful it will be. So like I said, there's a worksheet for you to do. Go and head to the show notes at socialmediaandmarketing.com.au/162 and have a look at the worksheet, maybe print it out, and let's work through it. So what's my word going to be for 2022? Honestly, I have to say I haven't quite figured it out. I need to sit down and do the worksheet again. I've done it in pencil, you might say, whilst I've been thinking about this podcast episode. But at the end of the day, I'm not really quite sure what my word for 2022 is going to be. The front runners are impact again, because when I chose impact, it was like what I really want to do is a lot more speaking. I want to get out there. I want to, speak to people. I want to speak to people individually, but I want to speak to people, that one-to-many model, like do more workshops, have more impact that way, one-to-many. And I feel like I haven't really been able to do that the last couple of years. Yes, I've done a mountain of workshops and a mountain of webinars, and clearly they have filled my jug as far as getting out there and speaking. But there's nothing quite like being on a stage where you can have people in front of you and can't turn their cameras off because they're there in front of you, and you can see the aha moments on their faces. You can see them light up with, yes, that's exactly what I needed to hear today. So that for me is still what I'm yearning for, and so therefore that is why impact is still a front runner. Other words that I have that are front runners are connection, because I'm a big believer in your net worth is equivalent to your network, and therefore having more connections, doing more networking, doing more collaborations, having more connections is a huge part of what I think 2022 is going to look like for me. And of course, grow is another front runner word. And grow is about me. Well, I guess they're all about me and my clients. So I want to grow my business. I want to grow myself. I want to step outside my comfort zone a few more times in 2022. There's nothing more comfortable than sitting behind a computer screen and doing a webinar. As some of you who follow me might know, a couple of weeks ago, I got to tick off one of my BHAG goals, my big, hairy, audacious goals, in that I did my first ever international speaking gig, which was totally so great. I did it with an organization, a women's conference. It was called Women's Impact. And so I did that, but it was very comfortable. I was sitting at my computer in my home behind, with my camera on. I think I did get all the way dressed that day, but I can see that if I had flown somewhere and had a live stage to get in front of a couple of hundred people, that would have felt quite different to sitting behind my computer screen doing it. So I want to grow. I want to get outside my comfort zone, but I also want my clients and my customers and you to get outside your comfort zones and for you to grow both yourself and your business. So that's why grow is still a bit of a front runner for me. Maybe I might end up having 3 words. I don't know. But I'd love you to tell me what yours is. Maybe we could have a bit of a conversation in the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group, and you could let me know what your word of the year is going to be. Or do we need to brainstorm it together inside the group? If you're not a member of the Like-Minded Business Owners Facebook group, then come and join. I'd love to see you in there, and let's have a discussion of what people's word of the year is going to be. Because you know what? If you put yours out there, you could inspire someone else with your thinking and your willingness to take charge in 2020. I can't wait to hear what your word is, and I promise I'll either have 3 or, of course, I will choose one of those, whether that be impact again, connection, or grow. But that's it for episode 162. I really hope you've enjoyed this episode, and perhaps it's got you thinking outside the square a little bit and thinking about your goals, which we really do need to think about in 2022. I can't believe it's 2022. It just doesn't roll off the tongue. But anyway, we'll get used to it. If you're enjoying this episode, please hit the subscribe button and maybe share this episode with one of your business friends who might need to think about their 2022 goals and, of course, their word of the year. And you might be able to make their business life a little bit simpler as well. If you've got time for a rating and review wherever you listen to this podcast, I would be so thankful for that. That would really make my day. Massive love coming your way if you make time to do that. But otherwise, I'll see you next week on episode 163. And in the meantime, let's make sure we're hanging out on social media together. You'll find me on Instagram at @JenDonovan_. Facebook, come and join the Like-Minded Business Owners group, or come over and let's have a bit of a conversation in LinkedIn. I really do like LinkedIn. It's one of my favorite platforms. But whatever you do, remember, my small business peeps, as my opening song says, there is no point in dreaming small.
No time like the present. Tell it like you feel it, say it proud, be true, and let us see you for the star that you are. No point in dreaming small.
I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the Yorta Yorta people, on which I record this podcast and conduct my business today, and pay my respects to their elders, past and present. I extend this respect to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here with us today as well.